Let's chat commodities now, where we have seen some decline continue for a day today from the Asian markets itself. Actually, while the international markets have been steady and slightly on the positive side, you have seen the Indian markets actually decline quite sharply. After 1% of gains for the rupee yesterday, you have seen 0.5% of an appreciation coming in yet again, and that perhaps is showing onto the calculations. So nearly 1% down coming in for the gold and silver prices. Ditto is the case with crude as well, where you have seen a sharp decline for that one too. 48,000 just about holding for silver, while crude prices down 1.25% on the negative side. Let's get in then Kunal Shah. He's head research Nirmal Bang Commodities, and he joins us on a Mumbai phone line. Kunal, hi, welcome. Let's start with the precious metal space first. And it has been a very choppy week really for that space there. At these current levels, with what the international markets are doing and the rupee appreciation, where do you see the prices headed?
Well, we believe that the ongoing problems in US is not helping gold prices to shoot up. It is an indication that irrespective of very bullish news also, market is showing a tremendous weakness. And if you look at the MCX near month and far month contract, the near month is likely to expire. The difference is as high as 800 rupees. So clearly going forward, we expect gold prices to remain under pressure. And with the ongoing trend in rupee, we've been witnessing continuous trend in the Indian rupee. So looking at that also, we feel that it is advisable to go short in gold at 29,200, 250 on December contract, expecting in a short term, very short term levels of 29,000, and slightly broader term, you may see levels of 28,500 also.
Kunal, how would you look at the silver prices? Because while we've seen pressure in the recent days in silver, 46,000 is a level that we haven't seen silver touch really. Would you say that this would perhaps continue to be a strong support area?
No, we believe that even silver prices are likely to remain under pressure, and any upside in silver till 48,500 I look to sell. We believe that in next week we are going to see levels of 47,000, 47,100 in silver. So the outlook remains bearish on silver also.
Kunal, what's your sense coming in for the Indian market demand really? Because we are into a peak of festive season. There hasn't been much import in last 3 months now because of the latest RBI rules on gold imports and exports as well. How are you looking at the physical market this time around?
The physical demand is likely to remain buoyant, at least going forward in next 1 to 2 months going forward. But I think in spite of the robust Indian demand, prices are likely to remain under pressure. So I don't believe that because the Indian demand is likely to remain robust, gold and silver prices are going to get support out of it. So international market, the investment demand is likely to remain subdued. Even this debt ceiling issue is not able to spark any major buying in gold, is indicating a weakness in gold, and the investment demand, ETF holding are not moving up at all. So we are of the view that Indian demand is likely to remain robust, but in spite of that, gold prices are going to remain under pressure.
Kunal, also, how would you look at the energy space now? Because on one side, there's no geopolitical concern really putting premium on the prices. The US inventories have been rising as well. So how would you look at the crude prices? Do you see a further decline coming in? Or would you say that perhaps the profit taking has been far and done, and perhaps it's the hurricane season which now could give some support to prices?
Absolutely. It's the hurricane season which is lending support to oil since last 2 days. We have seen one tropical storm has entered the Gulf of Mexico, and as for the major US forecast, we are going to see this hurricane this storm likely to convert into hurricane. So we recommend for the short-term perspective to go long in crude oil, 6350, 6040, good levels to go long for the upside target of 6420, and place a stop loss 6285. So because of this hurricane, you may see a spike of $1 or 2 in crude oil. But looking at all the Iran issue cooled off, Egypt issue have cooled off, Syria issue have cooled off. So we are of the view that the moment this hurricane subsides, again the downside in oil will resume.
Kunal, also, how would you look at the industrial space now? The commodities, that is, the Chinese markets, of course, are out of action till 8th of October. But we have seen very choppy moves coming in for most of this space as well. Most of these metals really are closing this week on a negative note here. Would you suspect this decline to continue in the coming week?
Well, all of these down moves are mainly on account of the rupee. Indian rupee have strengthened sharply during this week, and because of that, we've seen on Indian markets, most of these metals have collapsed. From next week onwards, when the China opens up, we have a major data going to come on, and we are of the view that any upside in base metals should be used as a good selling opportunity. the fundamentals remains bearish because of the rising production and the waning demand in China. So we are of the view that going forward, this last quarter is not going to be very rosy for the China. So we may see a slightly positive data, but I think the troubled times lie ahead for China going forward. So be seller on the base metal complex, like metals like copper, 450, 452, good levels to go short. For the short term, there's stop loss of 456 and expect prices to decline in test levels of 438.
4.5% of a decline coming in for the copper MCX prices in this week itself. Kunal, how much of a further decline would you see before you think it's a good time to start buying into this space?
I think the call what we have on copper is mainly on account of we are expecting the Chinese economic data to give up going forward, and we believe that whatever optimism we had from China is likely to fade going forward, because all the shadow banking problem they have and all the other indicators are pointing towards a structural upswing with what we've already seen, and now we are going to see a downside. And at the same time, the copper production in China is moving up at a rapid pace of 5 to 6%. So I am very confident that going forward, LME may go down and test levels of 6,800, 850, and Indian copper prices may test levels of 430, 425.
Kunal, you have a buy call in crude, but you have a sell call coming in for the precious metals and the base metals as well. Going forward in the next week as well, this is the kind of positions you would want to step into the next week?
Yeah, absolutely. Crude oil, the moment this hurricane subsides, I think we look to sell after that. But because of the hurricane, we have initiated a buy call.
Before we let you go, Kunal, what's your sense coming in for the Indian rupee as well? Because in this week itself, we've seen near 2% of a gain coming in for the currency. With the kind of scenario, global and domestic, that we are working with, what kind of a range would you want to put on the currency now for the next week?
We believe that 60 to 50 on upside, and on a downside, it may test levels of 60.50.
Here's Harish Kalipelli, head commodities and currency at JRG, with some of his commodity views.
Gold, whatever recovery that we have seen over last couple of days, I think it's likely to correct from that. So gold for the day, we are recommending to sell around 29,600 levels for a target of 29,000, and one can keep stop loss about 29,800 levels. Silver also likely to track gold, and perhaps silver is likely to fall more than gold because normally silver tends to have sharper swings. So we're recommending to sell silver again around 48,900 to 49,000 levels, keeping a stop loss above 49,500. Downside, we are seeing around 48,000 as a potential area. So given the current fundamentals, it looks like copper prices are slightly expensive. So overall, I think this correction is likely to extend further, probably towards 448 levels. So we're recommending to sell around 456 levels, keeping a stop loss above 459. As far as targets are concerned, one can keep around 448. Overall, I think crude prices are likely to correct towards 6,400 levels. So we're recommending to sell around 6,480, keeping a stop loss above 6,520.